So a couple of you guys in the Discord were telling me to check out that guy's channel. I think it's called Jacked and Stacked. The guy's name is Jack. I actually had never heard of him before you mentioned him, and apparently he just made his comeback to YouTube a couple days ago with his new video, and I decided to check it out. And wow, I wish I had heard of this guy sooner. There is so much stuff that he said that not only I agree with, but a lot of the stuff specifically regarding neurodivergence and autism really resonated with me in that video. And I liked what he had to say so much, and I resonated with so much of it that I decided to check out some of his other videos too, and the same deal. And it seems he says a lot of things that a lot of black pillars are reluctant to say. And I wanted to talk about some of them, but I don't even know where to begin. There's so much I agreed with, very little that I disagreed with. I think we're on the same page with almost everything that I've seen thus far, at least. I only watched maybe 2 videos or 3 videos, but the first one he uploaded, the most recent one he uploaded, he was talking about at one point how people kind of are boxed in to their, I don't know what he called it, maybe he referred to it as their niche, but he explained that everyone's, kind of limited by their pheno. We all have a unique character, and you're not really going to escape that no matter how much looks maxing you do. And thus, a lot of this looks maxing stuff is a scam. It's not really like a scam, like when you buy someone like Clav's course, like you're getting what you paid for. And technically, I haven't bought it, but technically, I would imagine a lot of people really do need some guidance on where to buy certain peptides or like the certain dosing and whatnot. So, I guess they are getting some value with it. He's curating free information that is publicly available. So I guess that curation is somewhat value. So it's not a complete scam. So I don't know if I would call it a scam, but a lot of it is misleading and it's selling people on a false dream. And something that I liked that he pointed out was that Clavicular kind of knows what he's doing. Clavicular is black-pilled. I mean, look at his name, Clavicular. The name derives from genetic determinism. He even explains this in many podcasts when people ask him, why would you name yourself like over a clavicle? And he always explains, he's honest about it, that it's sort of a black pill, that no matter how much you work out, how much you train, no matter how hard you try in the gym, your physique is always going to be limited by your clavicles, something you cannot change, your genetics. And so I've always believed that deep down, Clav is black-pilled for real, like a genetic determinist. But he's reluctant to share those notions, of course, because he has a financial incentive to sell a dream, to sell hope. And I like that this guy Jack pointed out that he thinks Clav kind of is black-pilled, and Clav knows this. Clav knows that most of his followers are never going to be able to attain what he's going to attain, no matter how hard they work. No matter how much work you put into this stuff, you're never really going to be able to get past that, not only genetic ceiling, it's more than that, it's deeper than that. And I like what this guy Jack called it. The name is slipping me, but you're boxed in. You're boxed into your particular pheno, your character, like, sure, I might have a specific character, you might have a specific character. Someone like, let's take like a rice cell or a curry cell. Like, they're never going to be able to adopt the character of Clavicular. They're never going to be able to adopt that look of maybe like Wolf of Wall Street type business character, European white. Like, no matter how hard they work, they're never going to attain that kind of character. They're always limited by what character people will perceive them at first glance. And this is regardless of how lean you get, regardless of how much melanotan 2 you do, regardless of if you decide to try to increase your frame by, doing lots of lateral delts and a lot of lateral raises. You're always going to be boxed in by that, and there's no real escaping that. And that's the real black pill. That's something that is really black pilling, and it's something that a lot of people have yet to wake up to. But that's not to say people can't improve, of course, and Jack doesn't say that. Jack always suggests to people, do the basics, at least from the couple videos that I did watch. He says, go to the gym, take care of yourself, take care of your skin, make sure you hair max. Outside of those basics, though, there really isn't that much more you can do in your control, because you're always going to be boxed in to that particular pheno. And we all have that character. We all are a certain character that people are going to perceive us at first glance. And something else he talked about, which is very ironic because of the timing of the video I posted on my main channel, or the several videos I posted on my main channel that revolved around living true to your biology, because that's a philosophy that I really believe in. I really believe that you will achieve your max potential life enjoyment if you're living true to your biology and you're not lying to yourself. You're not trying to be someone you're not. And this is why, I've touched on topics like compensating, data boxing, and how some guys but some guys are better off embracing that, because obviously in the black pill community, we all know that it doesn't generate true desire. But what I will say about that is, if you are good looking and you can generate true desire, then money and status does act synergistically. But if you don't have enough looks to generate desire, then it's not doing anything for you.
Right.
And so I think some guys, even though it's not going to generate true desire, still, I think they are better off, embracing who they are, because you're not going to be able to change your pheno. You're not going to be able to change certain things about you that is just keeping you boxed into that. And so might as well embrace it and be congruent with what you are genetically. And I know that sounds like really tough to accept. It's a hard pill to swallow, because look, if you're genetically flawed to a high degree, yes, try to adjust flaws with surgical intervention, because surgery, especially facial surgery, can't make you a Chad, but it can fix flaws. It can save you from being a sub 5. Surgery is never going to make anyone into a Chad. We don't have the technology to create that kind of harmony that's created naturally. But, I mean, maybe in some very, very few outlier cases. I think you guys get the main point, though. You should try to, if you have a very severe flaw, try to correct it with the surgery, yes. And then hide that, because gene frauding, someone left a comment which was very well articulated. Gene frauding is the crime to the highest order. It's so true. Gene frauding is the highest order crime you can commit. So if you're going to do anything like that, you need to be very discreet about it. Anyway, where the fuck was I going with this? Yeah, so if you're in a position where you can't make those changes, like you might just be really genetically fucked, or, it could just be a really bad combination of many things, then you may have to start considering embracing things like beta buxing rather than just completely giving up. Anyway, so this all just ties together with the whole idea of living true to your biology, which I was glad that Jack highlighted. He didn't really go into the concept I just explained in the potential idea of embracing beta boxing, or if you're gonna pursue a career and try to become a millionaire, then maybe you actually consider jester maxing. Like Jonah Hill, for example, he became extremely rich and status maxed by gesturing. And this whole like embracing your pheno, embracing your character, I do some acting classes, and so I always think about where these other actors who aren't successful yet, where they might go. And I think like, I wonder if I would advise some of these fat kids in the class to like start, cutting down, leaning down, trying to get in shape and all. And then I look at their faces, and some of them just probably are better off remaining fat and just embracing playing the jester character, because they could probably get to like 5, maybe 5.5. But if they instead remain fat, they could maybe like play the fat guy role really well and achieve tons of financial success and status success that way. And that would just be through embracing their pheno, because like not everyone can be that nigga, Like not everyone, we'd all love to, of course, but not everyone could be that guy, unfortunately. And I think your life is better off if you just decide to embrace that. If you're not, on the border. If you're on the border and you have potential for that, then for sure strive for that. But if you're sub 5 and you've already tried a lot of things and you're still sub 5, you might just want to consider start embracing it. Anyway, that's not really what he was touching on with the embracing aspect of it, but he was more talking about it in terms of like a personality sense. And I think he used video games as an example, like she's gonna like you or dislike you. Like it don't matter if you play video games or you have these niche interests or not. And that's true, like you should not try to change who you are. And that's something that the red pill has contaminated a lot of minds with. And I think the red pill, this is something that Jack agrees with as well, the red pill has probably done more damage to a lot of these true cells than helped. Now, it's probably helped a lot of high tier and mid tier normies, but if you're not with that looks level, I think the red pill actually damages a lot of low tier normies to sub 5s. It actually does more damage because they're trying to be somebody they're not, and it's incongruent. And the incongruence could be sensed. Females could sense that incongruence. You're not being true to who you are. My video on the main channel with that guy who is acting incongruent to his biology was because, he probably got hyped up by some red pill content and all that. And he was trying to be tough and all that. But, his looks, his genetics don't match up with that. They don't line up with that. There's an incongruence going on there. So he didn't get anything accomplished there other than having the police called on him. So like, that's just a prime example. Obviously it's an outlier case, but it's a prime example of the consequences of living incongruent to your biology. So yeah, there's consequences to it, and then there's pros to living congruent to your biology. Like there's benefits to it that you can leverage. Like there's a lot of pros that will come with it as well. And most importantly, something that Jack highlighted was this internal feeling. He used a specific word for it at the end of the video that I can't remember what it was. It was some good term he used for it, where it was like there's some imbalance, or like you're not congruent with nature. Like it's like disrupting the peace. These people who are trying to be someone they're not, there's like something inside of them that is not right. Like something doesn't feel right. All of the practical and direct pros and cons aside, you're also going to feel worse inside when you're not acting true to your biology and you're not being yourself. Like it's not true. You're like upsetting nature. and there's no escaping it. And so like these people are going out after watching a bunch of red pill content, and they're hyper analyzing every single fucking thing that's coming out of their mouth. Like, and some of these people probably weren't even autistic. Some of these people probably were neurotypical before, but the red pill contaminated their minds so much that they're trying to be this super stoic guy all the time, like super serious, super stone-faced, and making sure they never smile and never like act foolish, even the slightest, to be playful. And they're over analyzing everything, making sure they're always holding frame perfectly. And this is causing a lot of anxiety deep down. Like, this is making them feel uncomfortable. Whereas had they not taken the the red pill, you know, they'd just be going about their daily life. But there's pros and cons to it. It's obviously a nuanced thing, but I just like that he highlighted that, because it's something that I really believe in. I really believe you got to live true to your biology, and nature will reward you for such. That doesn't mean you're going to live a life as great as a Chad, unfortunately, but your potential net quality of life is going to be nearest the ideal, nearest your peak potential net quality of life when you're acting congruent to your biology. And unfortunately, a lot of your peaks are not going to be high in general, but there's nothing you can do about that. So you just got to max it out to the highest degree. And yeah, so that's something that I really like that he was saying. Another thing that I liked he was saying, he saw his video on the age pill. You know, the whole idea of a lot of red pill guys thinking that they peak in their late 30s to 40s. This is like one of the surface level concepts. Like, obviously we all know this is untrue. But one thing that I really just wanted to highlight about it, which Tails highlights all the time, is how dangerous the advice is to focus on your career. How absolutely dangerous and bad that advice is. Because these years when you're young, when you're near your peak potential attractiveness, these are your most valuable years to make experiences romantically and with friendships too, making memories. And it's a shorter window than you think. And red pillars are giving the advice to these guys, detrimental advice, to not go out, not have fun, you know, lock in, worry about your career so you could peak in your late 30s, because they're all fucking coping too. And then you get there, you get to the late 30s, and then you realize, wait a second, I'm money maxed, I'm status maxed, and I'm not doing much better. It's very dangerous advice, because you cannot turn back that clock. There is no going back. So that was one thing I like that, you know, he did in that video. What else was there? Because I watched a couple videos. I watched the age pill video. Oh, the video he made on Kai Cenat was really good too. When Kai Cenat is like realizing he's the jester. That was a great video. And that's an example of the consequences, like the pros and cons of living true to your biology. Because here's the thing. And here's something that I wouldn't say I disagree with Jack, but just something I wanted to point out. Look, he put in the thumbnail something like never jester. But here's the thing. Kai Cenat became famous for gesturing. He got big for gesturing, for, you know, allowing a little bit of self-humiliation and all. And that's how he achieved such insane status and insane money at a relatively young age. Now, yes, that doesn't generate desire. It's not really going to help him in that regard. Gracias, amigo. I don't know what the fuck he said, but he was smiling. Fuck, my train of thought. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not gonna let it disturb me. You gotta remain stoic, right? What are we talking about? Gesturing, right? Okay, Kai Cenat and the pros that came with it. What I wanted to highlight is that, yes, it doesn't generate desire. However, what would his life be like without that? He would just be a regular guy without the status and without the money, and he's still, you know, he's still got his genetics. He's still not going to be able to attract anyone. I mean, I don't want to say anyone, like, because I think if he really did try, he could find someone. I mean, I've given life fuel examples before. But the point is, like, gesturing got him crazy status and crazy money. And he could always decide to reel that in when he wants and just disappear from the internet. And he's made a lot of pretty interesting, cool memories in the process as well. I guess there was some self-humiliation in there as well, and those bad experiences when he's realizing he's the jester. But it's either that or he would have just been a fucking nobody sub 5. And like the desire wouldn't have increased because he didn't decide to like go down this gesturing hole. Like he would just be a fucking nobody and still dealing with the same problems. He'd probably just be gesturing in his maybe small group of friends. So I don't know, I think there's a little more nuance to the gesturing thing. Like you really could make a whole career out of gesturing. It's like making the best out of a bad hand. The only other advice I would have advised to Kai Cenat would be limb lengthening instead of the gesturing route. That would have been the ideal route. He should have went that route instead of gesturing. But he went the gesturing route anyway. And yeah, that video was really great. I just wanted to point out that nuance in it too. But I really did enjoy that video about Kai Cenat. And the way he added the music and made an edit out of Kai Cenat, getting the moment of realization when the girls were simping for Duke Dennis, and he's just sitting there like in that moment of realization, what's happening. And look, this isn't to say that Kai Cenat with the gesturing lives an ideal life, because he doesn't. I mean, we saw how he got humiliated with the girl situation. It's not ideal, guys. Like, I'm not saying that, you know. But I'm just saying a lot of pros came with it. And there's some nuance there. There is. Because he's never going to be that guy. No matter how hard he tries. He's never going to be that guy. And when he tries to move away from being the jester, society's going to inflict the consequences. Like when he tried to stop streaming to go the clothing route, he just got clowned. Because society has that unspoken deal. Like we talked about in the Jonah Hill video, like the deal to like, okay, if you're going to get famous for gesturing, you can't become that guy. No. We're going to inflict consequences on you if you got to pay your debts, you know? Like if you got famous for gesturing, you've agreed to remain the jester. And if you want to switch up on us, there's going to be consequences. And so we see it, like everyone calling Kai Cenat cringy and corny for trying to be serious. What else did I like that this guy said? I saw the Kai Cenat video. I saw the recent video he uploaded. I guess I'll touch a little bit on the autism thing and the neurodivergent thing. How he said everything in his life just sort of started to make sense when he was diagnosed with autism. Yeah. I like when he said that neurodivergent people struggle with a lot of regular relationships because it's hard for them to see the ROI in it. And that was one of my first videos coming back on this channel, talking about how I can't seem to enjoy non-ROI activities, and it's kind of like difficult for me to, it really is hard for me to try to like engage in things that I don't see the ROI with. And regular interactions, regular friendships, sometimes it's hard to see some kind of ROI in that, but romantic relationships are very different. And I like that he highlighted how this is probably why so many autists and neurodivergent people end up in these communities. It's not only because they might be unsuccessful, but some successful people on the field still end up in these communities because they get hyper obsessed with it, because there is ROI. And dating is such a big thing. I would say it's the most important thing in your life, because reproduction is the most important thing. That's why we're here. We're survival machines to pass down genes. So it makes sense why we'd get so hyper-focused on this, why we get so obsessive with it, because where we see the ROI in it, we see the potential gain in it, and thus we want to improve every single aspect of it. We want to try to understand it better, you know? What else did he say that I really liked? One thing that I kind of disagreed with a little bit was back to what we were initially talking about when we were talking about being boxed in by your pheno. He was talking about how the guy, Clav, is good looking, but he doesn't really have the sex appeal, the kind of appeal that someone like Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio have. You know, because it's something the PSL community doesn't fucking understand. You know, the PSL community would rate the fucking Ethereum founder higher than some of these TikTok e-boys that have huge female engagement because he's got like a stronger jawline and whatever. And it's just bullshit. It's not true. I don't think male ratings are accurate. I think the way you really rate, and Tails agrees with this too, is by female behaviors, female reciprocation. And if you're getting tons of female engagement on your TikToks, even though you might not have like the best ideal specific features, if your harmony is just like a pretty boy, you know, like you just have that it factor, that sex appeal factor that can't really be articulated, it can't really be described. You know, if you don't have that, yeah, there's just nothing you could do about that. It's something the PSL community doesn't really understand. But the point that I was going to say, the one thing I kind of disagreed with him is he said that Clav doesn't have it. He said like Clav is handsome and he doesn't have it. And I think I would argue that maybe not when he's got higher body fat, but when Clav gets super lean, like the very, very lean, when we saw Clav, like a super low body fat, you know, maybe around late 2025 or so, I think I'd give it to him for sure. He definitely has sex appeal. It's not just a status thing. You know, he really could do well. So yeah, I guess that's just a small thing I disagreed with, but it doesn't really fucking matter. I liked his main overall point about some guys having the sex appeal and some guys just not having it, because it's such an important thing for the black pill community to understand, and the PSL community just can't fucking grasp it. The PSL community doesn't understand it. It's like this. It's autism really, which is causing it. You know, they see all the measurements, they see the numbers, but they can't see the harmony. And if you can't see from the female gaze, I mean, none of us can perfectly, but I think I'm a pretty decent judge at it, at least compared to these at least compared to these PSL folks. But what's really gonna tell it is like female behavior. female behavior is what's gonna dictate if you have that factor or not, the sex appeal factor. And oftentimes, the ones who have it, a lot of people in the PSL community would just be like, no way. Like, how? It doesn't make sense. And yeah, it's just like, it's a harmony thing, and it's something that only nature can create. It's something that we don't have the technology to create that perfect harmony with surgeries. No matter how good people say these guys in Turkey are at understanding aesthetics, oh, they're better than the guys in the US, they understand the aesthetic, it doesn't matter. Only nature really can create that true harmony that gets you to that level of raw sex appeal. So that was one thing I like that he pointed out. I like that he doesn't agree with everything in the PSL community, because this is something Tails has been pointing out for the longest time. Tails has been pointing out for the longest time that the people in the PSL community are wrong about many things. He often would clown on the people on looksmacks.org for a lot of misunderstandings and giving a lot of bad advice.
There's a churro spot on that.
And yeah, this is where most of these surface level black pillars, I call them gray pillars, are at now, you know. Bro, these people who are getting their feet wet with looksmaxing and the surface level black pill concepts, they're like thinking something like frame matters equally as important as height and face. And it's like, frame matters for sure, but like, they're putting it on a pedestal for real, and you see these cringe MOG battles with like Androgenic and the ASU frat leader. The ASU frat leader is like, he is never gonna be able to have the kind of appeal that someone like Brad Pitt has, and it just comes down to the facial harmony aspect, and that's despite having a very halo frame and physique. But that's not to say he has no appeal. I mean, he's a frat leader. I mean, I'm sure like he does well, for sure. I'm just saying it's different than what most of these gray pillars perceive it as. And eventually more and more people are gonna start discovering the truth, because they're gonna go through the rabbit hole, they're gonna go through the process of looksmaxing to the highest degree. They're gonna try maxing out every single thing possible. They're gonna try maxing out every single thing possible, and they're gonna realize they're gonna hit a wall, they're gonna hit that ceiling, and yeah, they're gonna have to come to terms with reality. I don't know if they're gonna keep coping, or some of them, the more intelligent ones, are gonna come to reality, and then they're gonna find the Julius Perceiver channel. Welcome to hell. No. Welcome to the black pill. Nah, it's not hell, because I think truth is a way to get to the best possible quality of life. There's more things I agreed with what he said. I'm not remembering all of them. The video is getting a little long, so I'm gonna end it here though. All right, yeah, if that guy Jack ever wants to, link up if he's in New York City, let me know, Jack. Not even to make content, but I'd love to kick it with you. I don't know if you'd ever see this, but yeah, I fuck with your content, agree with you on pretty much everything, and you seem like a good guy for one, and one that I would actually vibe with, and I feel like we would have a good time going out like two black pillars and just making observations. It's something I like to do with one of my friends I black pilled. Yeah, that'd be fun. If you ever make a trip to New York City, let me know. Don't worry, I'm not gonna dox you or anything. We don't gotta make content. It'd be fun to kick it with you though. I don't know. Let me know. That'll conclude it.